So, yeah, I want to speak a little bit about the blessing of not getting what we want. Because I know that in personal development circles, in a lot of coaching circles, there's this idea that, if you just try hard enough, if you just work hard enough, if you just push yourself hard enough, then you can have everything you want. And in my own experience, it has not been like that. In fact, my own experience and my biggest learnings have all come through failing. They've come through not getting what I wanted. They've come through things not working out, end of jobs, end of relationships, end of plans, end of ambitions. Now, to the egoic self, all of that sounds depressing, and all of that sounds very negative, even. But what failing does is it allows us to open to something beyond ourselves. We see that we've tried hard, we really worked at something, and we still didn't get it. We still didn't get that thing, whatever that thing was. And failure can lead us to open to something greater than ourselves. Really, in some ways, failure leads us to surrender, to just say, I can't do this. And maybe I'm called to do something else than what I think I should be doing. Maybe I'm failing at things that I think I should be doing because actually my deepest calling is taking me somewhere else. And I remember there's this quote which says, the difference between a teacher and a student is a teacher has failed much more times than the student. The student still thinks they can do something. They can achieve something. I can achieve enlightenment. I can achieve, everlasting blissful states. I can achieve some sort of spiritual goal. But through failing over and over again, through realizing that actually of our own accord, of our own power, in some ways we're very limited, that sort of leads us to a greater surrender and a greater sense of opening to something beyond just the small self. And it allows us to maybe achieve things that we could never achieve. We can do things we could never do. I remember some years ago, I used to be a school teacher and I stopped being a school teacher. And I bumped into one of my old colleagues in town. And he asked me, what are you doing these days, Paul? And I said, oh, I'm actually running some meditation groups, because that's what I would say to people who didn't really understand what satsang was or anything like that. So I would say that. And then he said, oh, that's great. Where are you doing it? And at the time I was doing it, I was running retreats and groups in several different European countries, in Germany, in Spain, in Sweden, in Norway, in Scotland, in the UK, in Denmark. And he said, well, how did that happen? Wow, how did that happen? Have you been on some, kind of marketing course or something? I said, no, it didn't happen at all like that. It just happened very naturally where, I would just get invited, I'd meet someone and they'd say, oh, would you like to come and hold a weekend in Denmark or in Norway or something like that? And I just went with all these invites, and all of a sudden I was just holding lots of different courses in different places. Now, that's very different to if I'd set out to do that. If I'd said, right, last year I was in 3 European countries, and next year I want to be in 5, and the year after I want to be in 10, and like kind of setting ourselves these sort of goals of achievement. Not that at all. Not that at all. Much more just like a natural unfolding, a natural surrender, and a natural willingness to just go with what we feel is congruent for us and what is unfolding for us. And so many times when we take this approach, then help comes in so many different places, from so many different people. We feel support from so many different people, maybe people we don't even know, but somehow there's support for it. There's a sense of, you're just playing your part in something that's meant to be happening. You're not creating it, you're not making it happen. It's just happening, and you're saying yes to that happening. You're playing your part, you're doing your bit, but you're never taking kind of credit for it. Oh, I made this happen. It's a very different thing. So, central point, failure, sometimes we fail at things, but that failure leads us into something much greater than what we could do just coming from our personal, limited, individual perspective.